Hello everybody, welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Scott, joined by Josh.
Hello, Scott.
Josh, friend, it continues to be 2022, which means it continues to be a conversation about NFTs. Left, right, and centre. Can't get enough of them. Every single company weighing in with various different ways to fleece us of our love for them. I saw Atari doing the rounds this morning on Twitter, and Ubisoft are out there trying to field some of the responses, let's say, to their overall corpse program that launched last year and was received about as well as a corpse in the mail. What have you got for us?
Well, don't worry, Scott Tilford, because there has been an interview with Ubisoft, specifically the man in charge of the entire Quartz thing, who we sadly not called Mr. Quartz. In fact, he's called Nicholas Pura, and he is the head of Quartz, and he has done an interview with Finder, and he's essentially said that don't worry, they've taken your feedback on board, they've looked at the backlash against NFTs and Quartz, and they decided that it's not that we think that NFTs are bad, it's that we just don't understand them enough. That's our problem. We don't understand the value. There is this wide-ranging interview, but I pulled a few quotes here because the tone of it is essentially what I've just said. It's kind of like they've taken the feedback on board, they have assessed the backlash, but they're going to push ahead anyway. And the reasoning that they're given is that, according to them, they haven't properly conveyed the value of NFTs to us, and they think that we don't grasp it. So in response to a question on the backlash and whether they were expecting the backlash, he had this to say, quote, "Well, it was a reaction we were expecting. We know it's not an easy concept to grasp, but Quartz is really just a first step that should lead to something bigger, something that will be more easily understood by our players." And it's that I just hate, man. I hate the implication that the backlash to this is rooted in ignorance or a lack of knowledge. That is so, to me, incredibly condescending, because it's not the fact that we don't know what NFTs are, or it's not the fact that we lack the knowledge to fully form an opinion on them. It's that a lot of people just don't like them for a multitude of different reasons. So to have them pushing this line, it's just like, man, like they don't care about the feedback. They say they do, but it's like, what message does this give out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to give the guy the benefit of the doubt, even though it's very, very hard. Because, I mean, that's the thing. He's just coming out there going, well, if you understood exactly how they work, maybe more people just need to see that 2-hour-long folding ideas video, and then we'll also go running to see exactly what they've got planned. But I think that this being one of the first things that comes out after the fact, it was revealed that it was only it was between 10 and 15 people were using the Quartz platform at one point, last it was checked in on, because the amount of deals that were being done was drastically lower than what they expected. Obviously, that platform overall hasn't been received very well, and so for now to actually hear from someone who's meant to be in charge of it just saying well, we're fully aware of the value it can give you, it's just on you to come to us. There's one point in this overall interview where he refers to it all being a puzzle that will be revealed over time, and it's like, if you're trying to get people to invest in this thing, both their time and their money, most investment shouldn't be a puzzle, especially if you're trying to build trust between a company and a consumer.
That's it. The exact quote is, "Our belief is that piece by piece, the puzzle will be revealed and understood by our players." Quote,
is this Hassan Karaman behind us? Just bit by bit.
Maybe. Quote, "We hope that they will better understand the value we offer them." And it's like, if you haven't done that already, how can you... why would you even want to claw back this kind of trust between players? Why would you want to go to this much effort to convince someone that something is good, actually? I know the bottom line is just kind of profit, but I've never really seen a company get this backlash and push ahead anyway with this line. And there are a few things that are said later in the interview that directly reflect what the same talking points around microtransactions when they first started, which I'll definitely get to. But yeah, it's just this idea that it's a puzzle, that it's something we don't understand, that we don't currently understand the value. And to me, that is just game dev speak of, we are going to ram this down your throats until you understand the value, until we get this narrative over. We've talked about before, when it comes to stuff that players initially don't really like, whether it's season passes, whether it's microtransactions, whether it's the narrative that single player is dead, it's always framed like something that we don't know, but they do, like a piece of knowledge we have to come to understand. And it's like, no, this is just a narrative that is being pushed, and if someone doesn't like it, they're not ignorant because they don't like it. It's not because they have this lack of knowledge. It's not because they don't understand it or don't have the capacity to understand it. And it winds us up, man. It winds us up when developers think we're divs.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like you said, it fits the narrative. In EA's case with the single player stuff, it fitted them publishing a whole bunch more multiplayer games. And in this case, it funds the idea that NFTs can be massively profitable for those companies. Hence the example of the Konami one, where a little piece of Castlevania artwork sold for like $128,000 or whatever it was. There's that whole thing, and that's entirely what they see. My issue with this sort of phrasing is that him coming out and just saying, well, you'll understand it soon, the puzzle will be revealed, etc., etc. They're not doing anything to clarify what that puzzle is. They're still very much capitalizing on the absolute mess that is the current conversation around NFTs. Even this morning, I explained NFTs to Mr. Andy Murray, very beautiful, handsome, intelligent man, and I started to explain that to him. And I don't think it's common knowledge what NFTs are, and I think that very much goes hand in hand with the fact that each country is still trying to regulate them, still trying to understand them, and still trying to implement them in a way that is fair to the consumer and the company or whatever, and that's what they're trying to capitalize on. So comments like this of just sort of like, well, you just don't understand it, if anything, go towards that whole exclusivity Cryptobro thing of like, it's just cool for you, man. It's that Jimmy Fallon, Paris Hilton thing of like just trying to get in on something. And then, like you said, it's infuriating. Like, there's a potential upside to the idea of monetizing digital art for the sake of digital creators, but this ain't it.
Totally, man. I mean, like you said there, when it comes to the mainstream, when it comes to casual people, right, they genuinely might not understand an NFT or what value is tied to them. And that's why there is a nugget of truth in here, because NFTs aren't as commonplace as even microtransactions are, right? Or as loot boxes or anything like that. Like, there is a hurdle to get over to make them just kind of part of the household lexicon. But that isn't what was happening with the backlash. The backlash wasn't just, people who don't know what they're talking about, who don't know what it is, just going against any kind of change. That wasn't what that is. So to paint everyone with that brush, that's where I have a problem with. And the fact that this interview is just them saying, like, we're not even going to change course, we're not going to change anything about it, we're still going to push ahead, but in order to push ahead, we're going to try to explain to you that these things have value. Later on in the interview, he said about not backing down. He said, still, obviously, we are a bit frustrated, yes, but I think overall it's okay, and it's something we can really understand. We still strongly believe that what we are doing goes in the right direction, so we will keep integrating.
But we don't know what that is.
Well,
that's gonna keep doing it.
That's the thing as well. It's just like we're just gonna keep doing it, and the players are like, doing what? Like, what specifically? And it's like we're just gonna keep doing it. We're gonna keep integrating. It's these vague terms.
To drill it down, what they've done is they minted a series of Ghost Recon helmets that were then available that you could get by grinding out. It was like 500 hours of game time or 400 hours of game time to get one of the minted tokens that would let you get one of these Ghost Recon helmets that you could then try and sell on their Quartz platform. And it was just the token that represented that helmet itself. That was their great play to earn experiment, was putting some helmets, which all look crap, by the way, into a game that no one is playing anymore, and that's what they're trying to do. So even on that level, it's not like they've got any promising things that sound remotely good to anyone right now.
Totally. I mean, this next point that I've got, this next quote, even hit me more than the other ones, because I could not believe how the phrasing was just identical to the excuses we got for microtransactions and loot boxes back in the day. Yeah, just to go back to a quote from earlier when they were talking about why they're pushing ahead and how they're going to try to explain the value to players, they said, quote, "At no point will we force our players to use Quartz and digits. Digits are fully optional. It's something that we've built outside the game's economy, so you can still use Quartz, or you can choose to not use it, sorry. Right. It's really a matter of personal choice. In addition, on top of all the value that the game already offers." And it's that thing, man, the pushing the narrative that it's all just player choice. That is exactly the phrasing that was used when we had cosmetic DLC and microtransactions that were running rampant. And while it is technically true, I'm not saying that the guy's lying or anything, or that Ubisoft is lying, it will be optional. But the machinations of how they're sold to people will implicitly implore people to want to buy it because of stuff like FOMO, especially with NFTs, which are obviously even more rare and personalized than your regular microtransaction store, There's going to be a psychological element to this where, if you're playing online, you see that someone has something, you're going to want to be part of that in crowd or whatever, you know what I mean? So technically it is an optional thing, but if we're going on how this stuff has been pushed before in other kind of business practices, it's never as cut and dry as that. You know, there's always more to it, and that's a very reductive take, IMO, that's been pushed far too long, and I thought we were over this stuff.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Everything with the loot box problem, with the, you know, anything like that where it's an optional cosmetic attached with a price tag, you then have to obviously justify that price tag. But the thing with this is him saying, or them saying overall, you know, we're not going to force people to get this stuff, but we are also going to try and make something worthwhile that is NFT priced or is NFT created. Then you have that weird self-cancelling quagmire, because if anything is quality, but do you not want that to be part of the main game itself? Why are you selling it separately? Shouldn't that be part of the main thing?
Yeah.
And then also, if you have something that is truly worthwhile, then it's over here, and it's not necessarily optional if it's actually worthwhile. That was the whole crossover with the DLC stuff, Mass Effect 3, putting a character as DLC, etc. We've seen this before, and hopefully we're not about to embark on an entire generation of breaking these arguments down again. But like you said, it is the latest version of that. We had on-disc DLC in the 2000s, we had microtransactions, loot boxes across the 2010s, and I just wonder if the NFT argument is going to be the 2020s thing that we have across the next few years.
I think it's going to be, but it just insults me that the argument isn't even changing. It's the same arguments every single time, the ones that we've talked about in reference to, like you said, you know, on disc DLC, season passes, microtransactions, what have you. And that's the frustrating thing. Like, you can just see the PR speak, you know, like you can look at an interview like that and you can see the company line coming through in these words. And it's so blatant and it feels so artificial, and it just feels so deflating to see a company not really take any of the criticisms on board, or just try to deflect them and again say that, like, you know, it's just you lack the capacity to understand why this is good actually.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that whole idea of like what the internet gives people, which is you know, endless access to a million different things. The idea of reintroducing scarcity to that, and the idea of making something purchasable and limited and you know, isolated or whatever, and putting these exorbitant price tags on it or whatever they do over time that the NFT marketplace produces, is just like, you know, you can have, there's so many conversations you can have about that stuff. But in this regard, it doesn't feel like it's coming from a place of let's, you know, lift up all these other creators that weren't being appropriately funded or paid beforehand. It's just, here's 20 Ghost Recon helmets that we minted and that we're now going to sell for a stupid amount of either game time or money. So it's a big old mess, and I'm sure we'll have more stuff going forward. But let us know what you think down in the comments below. Have you bought into the Ubisoft Quartz system? Maybe it's brilliant. Let us know down in the comments below, because it's everything that we're seeing. It looks pretty terrible. For now though, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
I've been Josh from WhatCulture.com.
And we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.